Welcome to episode 3 of Rental Rescue. Patrick and I have successfully gotten all the kitchen cabinets down off the wall. We had a little curveball because some of the cabinets that were next to each other had these little itty bitty tiny, they were actually a T10 screw in 3 places. So we had to kind of wait to get the tip that we needed for the drill, the T10 tip, which I'd never had anything that small, but we got it, and now they're off the wall, and we sucked all the cockroaches out of them, which is good, you know, and then we put them in the garage. So now what we're doing is we're dismantling this whole wall, taking all the sheetrock off of it because it was so bad, and then over here, in getting this cabinet off, one of the bottom screws stripped, unfortunately, and unfortunately we ran into problems and we banged up the wall pretty good trying to get that off. I ended up having to get a Sawzall up in here to cut the screw. It just would not come out. The choice of screw back in the 90s and 2000s was a Phillips head drywall screw, and they just suck. They strip out really easy. And they're good. The 1.5-inchers are good for actually attaching sheetrock to the wall. That's not a big deal, but they're terrible for attaching cabinets or anything like that. Now we're using the hex head or the star or the T whatever, T20 or something like that. So, but you can see here, we got a lot of work we got to do on this wall. That's all old wallpaper right there. And we're getting close. We're getting down to the bare bones. And what's cool is we've almost finished the demo. And so it's always exciting to get this point in the project because this part really sucks. And then we can start building something good. So we'll have to demo this wall, and then we're going to demo this wall, and we might end up taking everything off this wall because of the damage I did. I'm going to have to see if I can patch it easy or not. So when we come back, I'll be using the laser level, and I'll show you how to do that. But it's tricky. You can't assume any house, even a brand new house, is perfectly level, straight, and plumb. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure off the floor to 4 feet, and then we're going to measure off the floor to 4 feet in the middle, and then off the floor to 4 feet at the end. And so we won't actually be making a level cut because if we do everything level, nothing will fit anyway because the house is just old and it's been settling. And so I hope that makes sense to you. We'll see you in a little bit when we do the level. I want to give you a little closer look at what's going on here. So this is the width of the stud here. So that's a 2x4. And of course a 2x4 is not a 2x4. It's actually a 1.5 by 3.5. So you have a piece of sheetrock here and you have another one meeting it right there, and you get a nail in each side. So when you see the nails like this, you're seeing the original building of the house. However, here you see more nails, but if you go down here, you'll see a screw and a screw. Now here's another screw. And so what this means is that this is a remodel. So at some point, my guess is that based on the wall here, you can see that there's up here, see how there's a 2x6 on its side here? Well, that's probably a double 2x6 with a piece of plywood in the middle of it. And so this window is actually much larger. The window actually went way out here when it was originally built. And then probably when they added all the cabinets, they blocked all this in, probably when they did the siding, and they put this smaller window in. So this window is probably either not original or it is original and they had another one next to it that's no longer there. Interesting. You can see what bad shape the insulation's in. There's no insulation here at all. It's pretty dark. But anyway, and unfortunately it's all these are you know, lead pipes and where they put it together with lead. But it's just a drain, so it's okay, and it works. We only had one trash can here today, so what I did is we found a moving blanket that was laying out in the yard with a lot of other things, and we just used the moving blanket to hold all the sheetrock. So when we're done with this whole section of wall, we'll be able to come back in and just pick the blanket up and haul it out. So we're getting close, and what's going on here next is we've got 8 foot from the stud on that corner to right here is 8 feet. It's actually about here, but we're going to go back and cut it off. We'll put another piece in here, and we're probably going to go to, there's got to be a stud back here. This is a floating wall. There's no stud behind here, which is bad. So what we're going to do is we're going to go find the stud where this window frame is, and that's where our stop will be. But we have to cut this out a little bit to see where that is. So I've got a sheetrock knife. This is a sheetrock knife. It's a pretty cool tool. It's got a tip on it where you can stab right through it, and then you can start sawing. So it's kind of like a jigsaw. But what I want to do is figure out where that stud is. So I'm just going to go along here until this knife stops. Because wherever it stops is going to be where the 2x4 is. There it is right there. So now we know exactly where the 2x4 is in there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to cut this back to that point. Then we're going to go over about 3/8 of an inch, or maybe a little more than 1/2 inch. And then we're going to scribe a line, and we'll cut that out. And that will let us lap that and then match this up. So we'll be able to lay the new piece of sheetrock in here and then mud it and leave that alone. So that'll work out great. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scribe the line. And we're going to actually make 2 lines, but I'm going to scribe one first. Hey, just in time, Patrick. Can you pick up that pencil for me? I just dropped this out to do this. Yes. I'm sorry.
Are you about to use this ladder?
I don't have to, so yeah, you can take it if you need it. And so now I've got the edge of the 2x4 is scribed here with my pencil mark. So now I got to go over. So again, a 2x4 is 1.5 inches wide. So I'm going to go 3/4 of an inch over, and then make another line, and that's the line we're going to cut on. So we'll cut the sheetrock out right there. That way this part of the sheetrock will still be connected to the stud, and then we'll have to pull out the nails from this side. If that sounds confusing, it's not. Anyway, so you can see this is my scribed line. There's the stud, you can see it. The stud is actually right there, so I've got 3/4 inch exposed. And what I'm doing is I'm taking a brand new blade, by the way. You got to do a brand new blade when you're doing this kind of stuff, because it'll dull it really quickly, and you just keep running the blade up and down on the old sheetrock. But you just stay in your groove, and the pieces will come out real easy like that. You just do a piece, and you just keep going. So it's pretty cool. So I'm going to tilt the camera down. You can see this lower piece come out. I'm going to try and do a big one on this one. So here's the edge of the stud where the knife went to. I'm going to just continue that to right there. I'm going to take that and just come up. I'm better at going down, actually. So now I'm going to just keep on my line. Sometimes you get off the line, you just come right back to it. Just keep slicing and dicing until you get all the way through that. And then once you're through it all the way, what will happen is you will You'll just do it a couple times and then it'll pop right out. And you'll have very little trimming to do after you get that piece out. So at this point, I think I'm ready. So I'm just gonna try to use both hands and then just pull. There it is. I was teasing you about the laser because we're not gonna use one because we had to take the whole thing out. It was just so bad. It didn't make any sense to not do that. So we just cut out the whole wall. And now we've got this little bit here where it's nice and straight. We got the stud exposed so we can put our sheetrock. And by the way, the easiest way to do sheetrock is to lay it on its side. A lot of times you see people doing it vertically. That means you gotta be on a ladder to do the top and you gotta be on your knees to the bottom to finish and do the mud and tape and the sanding, and it's just a pain. So if you put it on its side, you're working at 4 feet, which is much easier. So a little tip there for you. Okay. We had a great day today. We've been putting in half days, honestly. We met today at noon. It's 3:30. We're done. We already went to the dump. I got to tell you, going to the dump when you're doing projects like this is so incredibly satisfying. I'm a Catholic guy, and so we go to confession sometimes when we feel like we should or need to. And it always reminds me when I go to the dump, I think about going to confession, because you drag in all this stuff that's just horrific, and it smells bad, and it stinks, and it's ugly and unsightly, and it's rotten. And then you dump it all in a dumpster, and then you leave. And I always like to try to take the interstate home from the dump so I can go like 60, 70 miles an hour. And all that stuff swirls in the back and flies out of the truck, because I'm a Tennessean now. I've been here since '89. So it just feels good. It feels like you're clean. It feels, I don't know, it just feels good. So we have now gotten to the point where we are ready to do 2 things. The first thing is we're gonna replace this window because we're into the wall and it's the best time to do that. And so we can actually see the studs where the window starts and stops. So I now know that it's 24 inches wide and it's 35 inches tall. That's my opening, my rough opening. So now what I got to do is I'll have to go on to Lowe's and Home Depot's websites and look and see a window that would be smaller than those dimensions. And then I buy that and I build up the window around it. So the first thing I'll do is just demo around the inside of the window when I come back. And maybe tomorrow, probably tomorrow. And then I'll remove the old window completely. If I can find the window, the replacement window at Lowe's or Home Depot, I'll actually go ahead and install it. But if I can't find it, I've got a bunch of scrap pieces of plywood in the garage, and I'll just cut a piece to just stick on there until I can find the window, so I can source the window. So once the window is installed and like caulked in, then I can trim the inside of the window. I could trim the outside of the window and caulk the crap out of that, paint it really well. Once the window is in, then I could sheetrock. So then we'll come in with sheetrock. We'll do these 2 walls. We just couldn't save the top. It just wasn't gonna work. And it was gonna create more work with mud and sanding and tape, and it just wasn't worth it. So we just went all the way up. Yeah, so that's where we're at. So the kitchen, the good thing is like all that's behind us is really hard stuff. So all the cockroach carcasses and all the crap, and we've been sucking with, we've been all through the walls with the shop vacs. We've been sucking all that stuff up, and I probably will get some insulation, because in that area there is really no insulation. It's all broken down and fallen down. Here you can see there's plenty of insulation still in the wall, and that's okay. But this area I'm gonna have to actually put some in, and there's a vent pipe there, and definitely around the tub. It's just good to have that be insulated. So there'll be little things, but it's exciting to get this far. It really is. And I'm excited. And I have to say too, man, it's really cool to work with my son. My son's 19 and he's been working with me for a long time, since he was a little kid. But now he's old enough and mature enough to realize that the things he's learning here are going to serve him the rest of his life. And I don't know everything, but I'm able to kind of give him shortcuts into how to use a tool, or like a simple thing. A hammer fell off one of the stairs of the ladder today, and I said, "Hey man, check out on the top of the ladder. There's a hole for the hammer." "Oh, cool," he said. Well, he'll never do that again. And so there's like 1,000 moments like that when you're doing carpentry and doing stuff with your hands. But just the time that we're spending together, father and son, is just incredible. And so people don't ever think about that when they think about rental property. But if you've got family, it's really cool if they're involved. Now, my wife won't set foot in one of these things, man. The closest she'll come to one of these rental houses is to go to the bank and sign the papers when we close. After that, she wants no part of it. So, and I respect that. That's cool. So it's not her thing, but we don't mind to get dirty, my kids and I, and it's just been a great week. I feel so much better now. It's kind of depressing when you get a house back like this and you just have a lot of work to do. And now we're on the other end of that, most of that work. These plumber guys are going to come tomorrow and fix the rest of the leaks under the house, because we haven't had water here for over a week. And so once we get water on, we'll be able to turn the hot water on, and then we can start painting. And that's where I'm going to really go tear it up. So I think we'll be talking more about the Zinsser primer and how it covers and stuff like that in episode 4. But for this, episode 3 is toast. It's done. And this is what we have to show for it. I'm very excited. I'm really encouraged. And I'm glad you're still watching. Thanks so much. Rental Rescue, episode 3 is done.